Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be playing a solo game of Voidfall. In this video, I'm going to play the scenario Today is Not the Day, and I'm going to use one of the low complexity basic houses just to show that they're still fun. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am set up to play a solo game of Voidfall. I am playing the scenario Today is Not the Day, and I'm using House Cortozaar. I find that I haven't used the basic houses, the level 1 complexity houses, in a long time, but they are fun to play when you go back to them, so I just wanted to use one now. So this is House Cortozaar. I'm starting with Torpedoes tech, and the other techs that are in the tableau today are from houses Dunlork, Fenrax, Nervo, and Yarvek, and I think this is going to just be a wild playthrough. that's my guess, just looking at the texts that are out there and kind of thinking about what I might do this first cycle. I'm normally pretty into the techs anyway, but I think I'm really gonna go hard on techs early in this game. So we've got one fallen house on the map here. It's House Nervo. I think I played as Nervo in my last video and did pretty well, but I guess after I walked away from the table, they must have fallen. So there's their fallen house. I probably do want to at least go. You can, because of these void storms, you can kind of go like bottom or you can go top, and I think I'm going to go up this way at least until I get to that fallen house, and I'm not sure what direction I might go from there, but I plan on being pretty expansionist this time. And so, as with all the basic houses, my starting agenda here is 3 influence for every pure sector I have, 1 influence for each pure sector with at least 1 sector defense, and then 2 influence for each pure sector with at least 1 shipyard. And I'm playing on normal mode today, or medium. So I start with 2 level 0 crises. On the military track, I need to have 2 or more pure sectors with 4 population or higher. And on my economic track here, I have base of operations. I need to have 3 pure sectors and 8 pure deployed fleet power. And I don't really have any idea how I'm going to do either of those. those are not my favorite with the strategy I'm pursuing or planning on pursuing today. But we all have a plan until we start. So we'll see which way it goes. And so we've got the 3 heroic focus cards out. We've got heroic conquest, heroic prosperity, and heroic temptation, and I think I'm going to plan on using some of those. And then, as always, there are chapter markers, don't forget, so you can jump to the section that you want to if you want to get to a specific spot. And real quick, again, my standard plug here, I have a Etsy store that I co-own with some friends. There's a link in the description. It's called Brain Bucket Games, and I'm using a lot of the components we sell on that store, so it's mostly, so we've got guild tokens, there's going to be installation tokens, the glory tokens, reclaim and bounty tokens, all these fleet tokens, plus the agenda tray, the tech tray, and other pieces may or may not come out. So if you're interested in that, obviously I recommend them, but that's where these pieces came from, in case you're wondering. So let's get going. So to start things off, we need to reveal the Cycle 1 event. So the Galactic Event here is, so let's just knock over everything in the process. There we go. We have Know Your Enemy. This is the joint event card. So you can see it's got that joint symbol there. You only use that when using solo co-op mode, not when using competitive mode. So if you usually play competitive, which if that's the case, welcome. This is Table for One. Then if you only play competitive, you don't see these joint focuses ever. But we're going to have five rounds in this cycle, and we need to add 1 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent Voidborn sector. And so I think I'm going to do that here in this Genesis sector. No, actually, I take that back. I'll do that here. I think I'll be okay to do that here. I start with torpedoes. I've sort of got a plan. So, okay, we added a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent Voidborn sector, and then players may collectively twice gain corruption to remove a harbinger from the map. So I can take 2 corruption to remove 1 harbinger, and I don't think that's worth it. It says players may do this. I'm going to choose not to. I would probably elect to do it at a 2 or higher player count, because then each player takes at most 1 corruption, but taking 2 at the start that's a big ask. I'm not doing that. So the 2 goals for this galactic cycle are to either have 4 or more sectors, and it doesn't say they need to be pure, just have 4 more sectors, and if you have that, then you gain a glory token of value 3, and if you have 10 or more of a single resource, you can advance one of your civilization tracks. And that second one sounds a lot more appealing to me, but I don't know if strategically that's going to fit in with what I'm doing. So let's go to the first turn in this first cycle, and we've got to reveal the alert card and then maybe a crisis card if it's not war right off the bat. So let's find out. All right, and it's a level 1 crisis, so let's draw one of those. We have a military crisis. This is burning bridges. After you build a guild, choose to also remove a bounty token and a reclaim token from the map. The immediate penalty is to remove a non-home shipyard or non-home starbase. Well, I don't mind this immediate one. It's a big enough map. There's plenty of bounty and reclaim tokens that I'm not going to get to. I don't mind removing those from the map, but I don't know that I'm going to do it this first turn. So this will probably end up going on the crisis board for a bit. So let's start. I'm going to start by playing Temptation. And I think that's how I started the previous video too. I'm going to take the Heroic Temptation card. And so I've got a couple options on here. So I'll start with this middle option, which is commit. So the cost is I must add a corruption to one of my tracks and then advance that track. So I'm going to corrupt my economic track and then advance it because the only bonus that I'm missing there is advancing the track a second time. So I didn't really lose too much of a bonus. If I remove the corruption and advance the econ track later, I can still get that trade token, which would be nice. So now I can also advance any one track. And I will choose to advance the statecraft track, and the bonus is to activate a fleet power. So I've got 3 of those now. And then for my second action, I'm going to take this top one, which is exploit. I need to pay 4 resources of any kind in any combination. And so I start with 4 food, 2 energy, 4 materials, 3 credits, 2 science. I think I'm going to spend 2 food, 4 down to 2, and 2 materials, again, 4 down to 2. And then I can gain 4 resources of any type, and I think I'm going to grab all science, which is a little risky, but I'm going to go from 2 to 6. We're going to go hard on tech. And then I can also take 1 action from a preferred focus, and my preferred focuses for Cortozaar are progress and development. And I'm going to take this middle action, what is that? Invent from progress, where I pay 2 science to gain 1 technology. So let's pay the 2 science. We go from 6 down to 4. And then I'm going to gain hyperdrive tech. That's the first one I want. So first I gain 4 influence. So go from 10 to 14. And I draw 3 bounty tokens. And all these tokens out here on the map, they are 3D printed blanks. And so for my bounty tokens, I always draw a cardboard one out of these draw bags, which again are from my Etsy store. So I draw 3 of these, shuffle them up really good. All right, give me good stuff. 1, 2, 3. And so the first one is 1 food and 1 science. The second is 1 energy and 1 material. And the third is 2 material. Okay. And that's all great. And of course, on any of those, I can choose to take 1 influence instead. But that is not what I'm going to do at this point in the game. So I go from 2 food to 3, from 4 science to 5. Get 1 energy, so that goes from 2 to 3, and then 1, 2, 3 materials, so that goes from 2 to 5. That is a big payday. So let's just move these over to here. And that is it. That was 2 actions on this card. So I guess we should slot this hyperdrive tech. There you go. So hyperdrive, when I invade, I can first regroup, and when I play Conquest focus, I can produce energy. So that's nice to have. So let's take this Heroic Temptation and just discard it, put it in the Heroic discard deck off to the side, never to be seen again. And then I need to do something about this crisis. So I cannot take this immediate penalty because I don't have a shipyard or a star base in a non-home sector to remove. And I, of course, did not take the action, so my only options are to add it to the crisis board or to take a catastrophe token, and I'm definitely adding it to the crisis board. It's a military crisis, so it must go on the military track. I think I can achieve that soon. So I can take this alert card away, and we're off to a good start. Let's draw the next alert. Okay, we have a level 1 alert again, so let's draw another crisis card. And we have a general crisis. It's imprecise research. When you gain a basic tech, choose to not gain the 4 influence or gain 1 without 4 influence. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is to pay 2 science. Well, I just went through a little effort to get the science. I know I plan on getting a lot of techs. I can probably afford the 4 influence. I'm not sure if I'm getting a tech this turn, so that one might end up ongoing as well. So for my second focus card this cycle, I'm going to play Conquest, and again, I'm going to take the Heroic card. Let's play Heroic Conquest. And I plan to take these top 2 actions. But before I do that, I have Hyperdrive Tech, so when I play Conquest Focus, I may produce energy. Let's do that immediately. So I've got 3 energy now. My yield is 2, so I go up to 5 energy. That's nice to have. And now we'll take this top action, which is Annihilate. That's going to cost me 1 food, so I go from 3 to 2, and 2 energy. I go from 5 to 3. And now I can invade a sector, and I can remove the corruption from that sector. So I'm going to invade this sector here with 1, 2, 3 adjacent fleet power. They're all corvettes. So there is no approach step with just these 2 opposing corvette fleets. So we check for initiative. I have 3. The Voidborn have 2, so I have the higher initiative. I fire first. And because I have torpedoes and I have corvettes present, I do 1 extra damage the first salvo step. So that's 2 damage, takes out both of these fleet power. And I win the combat. So let's gain this glory token. And now I can score glory. I've got 3. So from 14 to 17. And there are no bounty or reclaim tokens to take care of here. Nothing else to really do except for this other part of this action. I can now purify that sector. So get rid of that corruption. And now I'm going to take this second action here. It's going to cost me 1 energy and 1 credit. I go from 3 energy down to 2, 3 credits down to 2, and I can regroup my fleet power, but I don't have anything that I really want to move. This is not really regroup action, but I like to keep these in order. 1, 2, 3. I like to fill up the fleet tokens from front to back, so let's just do that. But then I can also gain an agenda card. And I think I'm going to grab a Might Agenda. The one that's face up right now I've scored really well on before, but I don't know if that's going to help me or not in this scenario. So I'm just going to grab the next 2 and see what they are, and then I can always take the top facing one later if I change my mind. So we have Industrial Nourishments and Central Monetary System. And so they're both going to, this one's going to reward you for having high farming yield. This one is for high bankers yield. And then this one is going to reward you 2 influence for every sector with at least 1 pure shipyard or starbase, whereas this one is 2 influence for each pure shipyard or starbase. So the multiplier is a little better. They're kind of doing similar things. I don't know if I'm going to do that at all, but if I am, I like that multiplier better, so I'm going to discard this one. So that goes to the bottom of the stack. This is just in my hand here, this sort of area here, half crisis, half my hand. And I suppose that's it. That was both of my actions. So let's take this Heroic Conquest and put it in the Heroic discard pile. And again, I have to decide what to do with this crisis card here, and I am going to let it be ongoing. And then it's a general crisis. I'll put it on the economic track, so I can get rid of this. And now we draw a new alert card for the 3rd turn in the first cycle. We have a level 2 alert, and we got a general crisis. It's forward planning. Gain an agenda while already having 1 or more agendas. The immediate penalty is to remove 2 non-home sector defenses. And it wasn't really my plan to play any cards the rest of this cycle that would get me another agenda. I've got 1 in hand, which is great. I mean, this is something I typically do. It's not unusual, especially towards the end of the game, to have multiple agendas in my hand, but it might be a while before that happens. So I can't pay the immediate penalty, and I doubt I'll be able to by the end of this turn. So I've got to think a little bit through this turn if I want to make this ongoing or if this is where I take a catastrophe token. So let's think about that. And while I'm thinking, I'm going to play a focus card, and I am playing Progress. And I'm going to start with this top action here, Experiment, and I can either produce science or place a scientist's guild. And I don't really want to produce science because my yield is currently 0, so let's build a guild. And I think I will do that here. Yeah, let's go in my home sector. Right there. So my population in that sector is 2, so my science yield goes, or my level goes up by 2 to make my yield 1. And then I'll take the second action here, Invent. So again, spend 2 science, I go from 5 down to 3, and gain a tech. And this time I'm gaining carriers. This is an awesome tech. It has 4 influence, but I'm going to not gain the influence to solve this crisis card down here. And now I can activate 1 fleet power, and I can deploy a carrier to my home sector, which will cost me 1 food. So let's go ahead and pay the 1 food. There we go. And so here's the carrier in my home sector. And these tokens are kind of neat. So the basic carriers, you can only have 1 fleet power per token, and that's what it fits. And then if you get improved, you flip it over, and it's got, the color matches the improved tech card color, and it's got 3 slots on this side, so you don't accidentally mess that up. So I've got 1 carrier there in my home sector, and now I can slot that technology. So whenever I deploy fleet power, I can pay 1 food to make it a carrier, and when I deploy, my pre-existing carrier fleets count as a shipyard, one for each fleet token. So it's only when I deploy, it's not for like agenda scoring or anything like that, but it could be helpful. And then, forgot this a minute ago, I'm also pairing this agenda with this card, so I can either advance my lowest track or gain a trade token. So I think I'm going to gain a trade token. There we go. And I'm going to take a bounty token as my reward. So go to the bag here, draw a token. Okay. And it says I gain 1 food and 1 material. Happy to have the food because I'm pretty low there. So I'm up to 2 food now and 6 materials. So I'll just put this with the others. There we go. So now I'm going to slot this agenda and slot this new trade token right there. So I'll store it on my agenda card. And now I've got to decide what to do with this crisis card. And I think, oh man, this one really hurts, but I'm gonna put it on the track. I hate to take the catastrophe so early on something that I know is at least achievable later. But that might ruin me. We'll see. So let's go to the 4th turn here. I draw an alert card, and it is a level 1 alert. So let's go to the level 1 crisis deck. And we have a military crisis without fear. Invade a sector with 1 or more sector defense, and the immediate penalty is to discard a trade token. That's a good one to get right now. That is in line with my plans. So for my next focus card, I am playing politics, and I'm going to spend this new trade token that I just got to take all 3 actions. And I'm going to start at the top. So I spend 1 science. I go from 3 to 2 to advance my statecraft track. So we advance here, and look at that, another technology. I'm going so heavy on techs, and it's awesome. And I'm going to grab energy cells this time. So it's another tech with 4 influence. So I go from 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And the immediate effect, I didn't think about this, is I could spend 2 energy to activate 2 fleet power or 5 energy to activate 3 fleet power. But I think I'm too tight on energy. I'm not going to do either of those, which is a little sad. So let's just slot that agenda now. And the effect is during combat, when I'm the defender, if I deal at least 1 approach damage, I get to deal a 2nd approach damage. So that's going to make my sector defenses really strong, assuming I get some sector defenses down at some point. Oh, and you know what? I am going to take this immediate effect. I am going to spend 2 energy. So I go from 2 to 0, I think. Oh man, this is going to be tight. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go from 2 to 0. I may regret this later, but now I can activate 2 fleet power. So I've got 5 active fleet power. I'll slot that back in there. Let's hope that was a good idea, because now I'm going to take this bottom action. So I spend 1 credit, so I'm only down to 1 credit now, and I gain a trade token and can move a corruption. So let's gain this trade token here. And I think I am going to take 2 energy as my reward, because I'm going to need it. So we go back up to 2. Okay. And I can also move a corruption now. And so I think I want to take this one off of my economic track, and I'm going to put it back in the sector where it came from. This sector's not scoring me any points anyway. And I just don't think it's going to be that important a sector to me later either. So now I'm going to take this middle action. So I need to spend 2 energy. I go from 2 down to 0, and 1 credit. I go from 1 down to 0. and I can improve a glory token and invade. So I'll start by improving the glory token. I'm going to improve this 2 and make it a 3. And I've got this glory token tray here that again is from my Etsy store, so they're all stored in separate little spots, nice and organized. There's 2 trays for the game. So we'll put this here, and now I can invade. And because I have hyperdrive, I can also regroup before I invade. And so to regroup, I'll just take this carrier and move it to this sector here. And now I can invade. And so I'll invade with a carrier, and the carrier on approach deploys a Corvette. And then I can also invade with some of these Corvettes here if I choose. And I think I will. I think I'll bring 2 of them. I'm just going to leave 1 behind. Let's be very forward heavy with my deployment. So this sector has 2 sector defenses based on the Fallen House card, and I just invaded a sector with 1 or more sector defenses, so I took care of the current crisis. So it's nice to keep that one off the board. And so there's 2 approach damage from these sector defenses, so I'm going to lose 2 Corvettes. So I just bring them back here. And that's it. I survived, so I win the combat. Let's grab this Fallen House card. And first we'll grab this glory token and score glory. So that's 3, 4, 5 glory for me from 21 to 26. Oh, and this sector is supposed to have 3 population, not 1. Not sure how I goofed that up during setup. And now I can gain one of House Nervo's techs, so either arc ships or robotics. And I think I'm going to go with arc ships today, even though robotics is one of my favorite techs. Like I said, I want to be kind of very forward with my deployment and moving across the map. I think I'll be spread pretty thin, and I might abandon some sectors along the way. So arc ships allows me to have additional guilds in my home sector. And since I can't lose my home sector, I may as well make that my economic hub to support the rest of the stuff that I'm going to be doing on this side of the board. So I can have up to 2 additional guilds on my home sector, not occupying the usual guild spaces. I gain 4 influence, so from 26 to 30. And I can raise a pure population and build a guild. So I'm going to raise the pure population in my home sector from 2 to 3, and that increases my production levels for farming. So it goes to level 3, yield of 2. And science goes from, again, level 3, yield of 2. And I can build a guild, and I seem to be using a lot of energy. So I will place an engineer's guild there so I can raise that level 3 times from level 3 to level 6 and a yield of 2 to a yield of 4. And then I may also build a miners guild in this sector where I just invaded. So put that there. There's a population of 3, so I can raise that level by 3. So from level 2 to level 5, and my yield goes from 1 to 3. And I did just build 2 guilds, so after you build a guild, choose to also remove a bounty token and a reclaim token from the map. And I'm sort of on an upward trajectory here, so let's remove, I don't know, probably this bounty token and this reclaim token. And now I can remove that crisis card that slides down so my military track gets a little more friendly. And then we'll slide down these glory tokens because this flips over and I can slot that tech right there by the Fallen House card. In theory, I've got enough room. All right, we can still see what's going on. Good, good, good. Maybe move these down a little. Okay. So that was a turn, but I've done all 3 of these actions. So let's slot this trade token that I gained here on my starting agenda. And then this trade token that I used to take 3 actions, I need to return it to the Galactic board. And there is no crisis that I need to think about because I solved it during the turn, so I get rid of this alert card. So now we draw a new alert for the last focus round of the cycle, and we have a war card this time. So at the end of the round, I need to resolve the crisis board, and if I successfully defend the skirmish, I gain 2 influence. So with this being the last round of the cycle, I was going to have to resolve the war or the crisis board anyway. But that's going to be a lot of resources here that I'm going to have to spend, and I don't know if I'm going to have them, so I'm a little bit nervous about that part. And so this wasn't really what I was planning on, but I'm going to play reinforcement. I think I need to protect myself a little bit, and I will spend this trade token as well. Or you know what? I'm not going to spend the trade token. Actually, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm just going to take the top 2 actions, and I'll start with the topmost. So I need to deactivate 1 fleet power. So I've got 5 deactivated, 5 active, and now I can advance one of my civilization tracks and build a sector defense. So I'll start by building the sector defense, and again, these are tokens from the Etsy store, double-sided, just like the real ones, and we're going to put that right there. I think that's going to solve some problems for me. And I can advance 1 track, and I'm going to advance the economic track and gain a trade token. So let's take one of those. There we go. And for the reward, I'm just going to gain 2 energy. So I go from 0 to 2. I think that is going to be very helpful. So now I'm going to take this action here, muster. It's going to cost me 2 materials. So I go from 6 down to 4. And I can deploy 1 fleet power to each of my shipyards. So in this shipyard here, I'm going to deploy a carrier. Here we go. There's a carrier, and that does cost 1 food. So I go from 2 down to 1. Pretty close on resources here. And then I'll also deploy a fleet power because pre-existing carriers count as shipyards. So I'm going to deploy a corvette to this sector here. I cannot use this one that I just put there as another shipyard because that would be like an infinite loop. That's not allowed. So those are all of my actions. I'm going to slot this trade token now. So I've got a couple of those, and I need to resolve this war card. So we need to skirmish. Voidborn Fleet Power, I've got 1 corruption on my house mat, and then 1 modifier here. So 2 Voidborn Fleet Power coming into skirmish. The 2 legal sectors where they can skirmish are this one here and this one here. So we'll just walk through it. If they come in here with 2, I've got a sector defense, and because I have energy cells and I'm the defender, if I deal at least 1 approach damage, I deal 1 additional approach damage. So I take out both of those Voidborn Fleet Power during the approach step here. If they come in here, I have 1, 2, 3 initiative. The carriers are worth the same as a corvette. So I have 3 initiative. The Voidborn would have 2. So I fire first, and because I have corvettes and torpedoes, I do 2 damage and take out both of the incoming fleet power. So in either case, I defend the skirmish, and the war card says I gain 2 influence for successfully defending. So I go up to 32. And now I have to take care of this economic track. I need to pay 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science. So my material goes from 4 to 3, energy goes from 2 to 1, science goes from 2 to 1. And that's it for the war card. And we'll recap real quick. That was 5 cards in this cycle. So Temptation, Conquest, Progress, Politics, and Reinforcement. The first 2 were heroic, and there were only 5 rounds in this cycle. So now we go to the cycle 1 evaluation phase, which of course starts with resolving the crisis board again. So we already know that I defend the skirmish. I don't get any special influence this time around, and then I have to pay this economic track a second time. So again, 1 material, so I go from 3 to 2, 1 energy, I go from 1 to 0, and 1 science, so I go from 1 to 0. Okay, and that was the crisis board. Now I have to pay upkeep. Luckily, my agendas all have trade tokens on them. So we look here at the map. I've got all of my guilds built up here on the home sector, and that's it. So 1 upkeep total. My food goes from 1 to 0, and now I have no resources except for 2 materials. So I'm going to have to do something about that at some point. And then I do not have any sectors that are pure with 6 population and 3 or more guilds. So I don't build any safe havens this time. So we check the Galactic Event. As I just mentioned, I do not have 10 or more of any resource. I really would have liked to get that. But I do have 4 sectors. They don't all have to be pure, but I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 sectors. So I can gain a number 3 glory token. So there we go. I got a decent amount of glory. And now I score my pure agendas, which are these 2. So the first one is 3 influence for every pure sector, and I have only 2 of those, so that's going to be 6 influence. So I go from 32 to 38. I gain 1 influence for each sector with 1 or more pure sector defense. I've only got 1 sector defense, and it's corrupted, so no points there. 2 influence for each sector with 1 or more pure shipyard. That would just be my home sector, so 2 influence. I go from 38 to 40. And on industrial nourishments here, I gain 7 influence if I have 8 or more food production yield. But my food production yield is 2, so I don't get that. I get 2 influence for each pure shipyard or starbase that I have. And I have exactly one of those, so that's 2 influence. I go from 40 to 42. Not my highest scoring ever, but I think I'm in decent shape. That was a pretty good first cycle. So I will skip past the preparation phase for cycle 2, but just to run through it real quick, I will refresh these heroic focus cards. Prosperity will go away. I'll get 3 new ones. I will refresh my alert deck. I will take the tech blocker off there, the improved tech blocker off the Galactic board to make those techs available in cycle 2, and those techs are tactical transports, energy cells, arc ships, and robotics. So I've got 2 of those. I will draw a new Galactic Event for cycle 2. Of course, I'll take my focus cards back and I'll add innovation into the deck that's available starting in the second cycle. And I will remove 1 trade token as well. So I think that covers it. So stick around, and we're going into cycle 2, starting with the preparation phase, specifically revealing the Galactic Event. Here we go. All right, so I'm all set up for cycle 2 now. The new heroic cards are leadership, production, and innovation, and we need to reveal the cycle 2 Galactic Event. So let's do that. And we have, let's put it where I can read it for a minute. Adapting Darkness. So this will be another 5-turn cycle. The first thing is, it's nice, every player can produce 2 different resources. And then ongoing for the rest of this cycle, for each improved technology a player has, the Voidborn side gains 1 salvo absorption during each skirmish against them. So that's really hindering your ability to get improved techs, which I don't have any yet, but I'm definitely playing a tech-heavy game, so that's going to slow me down. And then the 2 goals for this cycle on the Galactic Event here, if I have 8 or more glory at the end of the cycle, which I currently have 8, then I can either remove a corruption or gain an agenda card, or I can gain 3 influence for each active fleet power I have, so each fleet power in this area right here. So those are pretty good. Overall, this one's not too bad. Just kind of got to watch out for the skirmishes. It more or less negates my torpedoes tech. So let's do the first part. I get to produce 2 resources, just 2 different ones. Yeah, and I really needed that. Let's produce food. So I go from 0 to 2. And I think I'll produce science and go from 0 to 2. So I've got 2 food, 2 materials, 2 science, 0 energy, 0 credits. But that at least gives me something to play with, I think. Boy, resources are going to be rough. Okay, well, let's grab the first alert card. And it's a level 1 alert, so we'll grab the next crisis card. And it's general crisis. This is cleansing fire. So I either need to remove a corruption from one of my civilization tracks or move a corruption between my civilization tracks, either onto or off of. Otherwise, I need to gain a corruption as the immediate penalty. I really don't like this one. It's gotten me into trouble before. So I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I got to think about that for a minute. But I will start off with my first card as Reinforcement. So I'm going to take the top action and the middle action. So the top action is Accelerate. I have to deactivate 1 fleet power, and then I can advance 1 civilization track and build 1 sector defense. So let's go ahead and do a sector defense. I guess we'll put it here. Then we'll advance 1 track. I'm going to advance the statecraft track, and the immediate bonus is I gain an agenda card. And I'm taking a wealth agenda, and the one on top doesn't look like it's going to be great for me. I mean, I guess it's not bad, but I know that there's agenda cards in here that give tech bonuses, and I would rather get one of those if I can. And there's one of them. So we've got Augmented Armada and Intellectual Supremacy. And I'm not even going to think about this. I'm going to take Intellectual Supremacy because I've got 5 techs already. Although I'm not incentivized to improve any this cycle, but it would be good. And this will get me 10 points by itself. If I can clean up the corruption from a couple sectors, that'll be up to 14. This has a lot of ability to scale. So I want that one. And now I'm going to take the muster action, so I have to pay 2 materials. So I'm out of materials, and I can deploy 1 fleet power to each shipyard that I have. And my existing carriers act as shipyards. So I'm going to deploy 1 corvette here. And I'm going to deploy 1 more carrier here, which is going to cost me 1 food. I go from 2 food down to 1. Still pretty tight on resources. I've got 1 food and 2 science, and that's it. So let's put the fleet power there. Okay, and that was it for reinforcement. And it kills me to do it, but I'm going to take this immediate penalty of taking a corruption. It really stinks, but I'd rather take one corruption than one catastrophe token at this point, especially on a level 1 crisis. So that one's resolved, sort of, but I truly hate that one. So let's draw the next alert card. All right, and we've got a level 2 alert, and we have a general crisis, another step forward. Gain 1 basic technology while already having 1 or more improved technologies. Otherwise, skirmish is the immediate penalty. I would love to get improved technologies and then maybe get another basic as well, but the skirmish is probably going to be quicker and easier. So I suspect that's what I'm going to go with. But I'm going to play innovation this time, and I'll take this heroic innovation card. You know, if I had more resources, I could gain an improved tech and then gain a basic tech and be done with it that way, but I don't have enough resources to do that. So I'm going to take the middle action and the bottom action, starting with the middle, I suppose. So I gain 1 improved technology, and I can have exactly 1 based off my tracks right now. Torpedoes would be nice, but I can't make any use of the immediate effect because I don't have any active fleet power to deploy. So the other ones available that I could get are energy cells and arc ships, and there's a good argument to be made for either. But I think I'm going to grab energy cells. Whoopsie. Sorry, arc ships trying to come with me. Energy cells. So I get 6 influence for this improved tech, so I go from 42 to 48. And the immediate benefit is I can either regroup, which I don't need to do, or I can build 2 sector defenses. And so let's go ahead and add 1 here and 1 here. So those are the 2 sectors where I could skirmish, and I have a skirmish coming up potentially, so that's good. And then I can also, I guess slot this. The additional benefit is during the evaluation phase, my upkeep on my sectors is satisfied for free. And then the other part of this action is I can remove 1 Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. And I think I'm going to take this one here. So I think I'd kind of like to move up this way and then take out that rift. As a secondary option, maybe next cycle, if I need to, I might come down here and grab this Genesis sector to either help with safe havens if I'm hurting for points, or just even for resources. That might be a good place to go too. But I think primarily I'd like to go up there and grab that rift and take it out. And I'm going to take my second action, this one down here. This is consolidate. It's going to cost 2 resources of any kind. I'm going to spend 1 food and go down to 0, and spend 1 science to go down to 1. So that 1 science is my only resource remaining. This is really, really tight right now. But I gain an agenda, and I can remove a crisis card. So let's do the agenda first. And I think I'm going to go with a support agenda, but again, not the one on top. So let me grab a couple of those. So we have, I'm running out of room here. I have environmental exploitation and the Wellspring Initiative. So this one wants me to corrupt a track. Why does everything in this game want me to do that? This one wants me to have very little corruption. I think I'd rather prefer that. And then they each will give you 5 influence per pair of either miners guilds or farmers guilds, and I don't have any pure pairs of those anyway, so I guess I'll take this one. I'll take the Wellspring Initiative. It's maybe slightly better, and put this one back. Okay, and now I just took an agenda while already having an agenda in hand. So I just solved this crisis card, so I can get rid of that. And then the other part of this action is I can remove 1 crisis card. And I think I'm going to skirmish this one away. I think I'm closer to achieving this one than this one, so I'm going to eliminate this one down here, this level 0 skirmish. So now I can get rid of this heroic innovation card, put it in the heroic card discard pile. And for this crisis, I am going to skirmish. And so we're skirmishing at 1 plus 1 is 2 fleet power, and the only 2 places they can skirmish, if they come in with 2, I've got 2 sector defenses in each, plus 1 additional approach damage due to energy cells, and the Galactic Event gives the Voidborn 1 salvo absorption during skirmishes, but not an approach absorption. So I win the skirmish either way. This crisis card is handled, and I can get rid of the alert card as well. So let's get our next alert card now. And it's another 2. And we have military crisis, internal unrest. Choose to deactivate twice, choose to recall twice from your home sector. Otherwise, pay 3 food. 3 food is going to be tough, and I don't really ever want to do that. So that's going to be problematic. So I think we'll just figure that out when we get there. So for now, let's play production, and I'm grabbing heroic production, and I'm pairing it with this agenda here, intellectual supremacy. We'll get that into play. And I'm going to start with this bottom action. I have to recall one fleet power, so let's take this one. And I can remove a corruption and advance my society track. So let's remove this corruption here. That's my highest population sector with corruption. Come on. There we go. And then we advance the society track. So that goes up, and I gain 1 science and 1 credit. So now I'm up to 2 science and 1 credit, and that is all my resources. And so you would think I would take this middle action now and produce food, energy, and materials, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the middle action and increase a pure population, and then increase a pure population again, either in the same sector or a different sector. So I'm going to increase this one from 3 to 4. There we go. And then increase this one, which is now pure, from 3 to 4. And now I've got to adjust my production levels. So food, energy, materials, and science each go up 1. So food goes from level 3 to 4. Energy goes from level 6 to 7. Materials goes from level 5 to 6. And science goes from level 3 to 4. So my production yields are 3, 4, 4, and 3. And now I have 2 pure sectors with population 4 or more, so I've taken care of this initial crisis. So I'm glad to have that gone, and I can still take my agenda action, so I can build 1 new guild and produce that resource type. So I think I'm going to build an engineers guild here in this sector. So I add another 4 levels, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and now I produce, and my yield is 10. So I have 10 energy. That is pretty nice to have. So I've got 10 energy, 1 credit, 2 science. And so now I can slot this agenda, place it in this space here. And now I've got to, well, I guess I can put this heroic production card on the bottom of the heroic deck. Now I've got to figure out what to do with this. And I don't feel great about this, but I really don't want to take the catastrophe token on this one. I'm going to make it ongoing, and I think I might have a plan to take care of it. So let's draw the next crisis card, and it's a 1. It's a little askew, huh? Okay. 1 is nice. We have a general crisis, evolving enemy. After you gain a technology, choose to also add 1 Voidborn fleet power on an adjacent Voidborn sector. Otherwise, the immediate penalties are to recall a fleet power or to add a Voidborn fleet power to each open rift. I don't want to add fleet power to rifts. That doesn't seem like a good idea. I might recall, but I might gain a tech too and just add the Voidborn fleet power. I don't know that that's such a bad option. All right, sorry about that. I started to play my next focus card, and then I realized I was playing them out of order, so I didn't reveal any new info, but I did have to reset real quick. So if you've played before, it's probably happened to you, and apologies. So my next focus card, I'm going to play Prosperity, and I'm going to take these top 2 actions. I'm going to start with this top action. So you have to pay 1 material. I don't have any materials, but I have a credit. So there goes my last credit, and I can advance my economic track, and now I can build a guild. So I'm going to build a farmer's guild right here. And so the level goes up by 4. My yield is currently 3. I go to level 8, and now my yield is 5. And now I'm going to take this second action. I can produce 1 resource type and then gain 2 of any resources. So I'm going to produce, actually now that I can do it, I'm going to produce food and go from 0 to 5. And then for my other resources, I think I'm going to take 2 credits. So I have 5, 10, 0, 2, and 2, which is better than I was doing before. And now for this crisis card, I'm just going to make it ongoing. I'll put it on the economic track, take this alert card back, and I think I have 1 more focus card left to play. Let's double check here. Yes, reinforcement, innovation, production, prosperity. I've got 1 more. So let's grab the alert card, and it's a 3. And we've drawn an economic crisis, professional diversity. After resolving a development focus, have a pure sector with 3 different guild types, and they have to be farmers, miners, or engineers, which luckily is exactly what this sector is pure, and it has those 3 different guild types, but I don't plan on playing development focus. So the immediate penalty is you can remove 1 non-home shipyard or starbase and 1 non-home sector defense. I don't think I'm doing that. I know all I have to do is play development, and I should be able to accomplish that. So this one is probably going to be ongoing. So I'm going to play my last focus card for this cycle. I'm playing Progress, but I'm using it to do Heroic Leadership. And I'm going to flip the trade token and take all 3 actions on this one. And I'm also going to pair it with this agenda because Heroic Leadership is, you can pair it with any agenda type. So now I'll start with the agenda action. I can activate 1 fleet power and I can build 1 installation. And I'm going to build a shipyard, and I'm going to put it right here in this pier sector because I should be able to score for that pretty well. And then I still have these 3 actions I can take in whatever order I want. And I'm going to start with this middle action. I have to spend a glory token, so let's spend a number 1 glory. And that allows me to remove a corruption, so let's get this one off my house mat. And I can take a action off a preferred focus, and that's why I put progress here, so I wouldn't forget. This is one of my preferred focuses, and I'm going to gain a tech, and that's going to cost 2 science. And I have 2 science. Now I'm down to 0 science, but I gain a tech. And when I advance this track, I unlocked another improved tech. So let's grab my starting tech, torpedoes. So I gain 6 influence for that. Go from 48, 1, 2 to 54. Boy, influence is low. A little worried. But then I gain value 3 glory token, and I can deploy a corvette to each of my shipyards. And these carriers count as shipyards. So let's just deploy. I've got 2 active fleet power. Let's put 2 of them here as corvettes. And that's more than 2 fleet tokens in that sector, but that's okay until the end of the turn, until the cleanup phase. So we're okay for now. So I just gained a tech, and so I can choose to also add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent Voidborn sector to clear this this crisis card here. And let's do that. Let's add a Voidborn fleet power here. That seems like of all the adjacent Voidborn sectors, the one I'm least likely to invade. So that gets rid of this crisis card. And now I can recall from my home sector 2 fleet power in order to solve this crisis. So that's kind of a weird crisis where it sort of gives you an action in a way, but that's done. I choose to recall 2 Voidborn fleet or 2 fleet power from my home sector. So that's solved as well. So the crisis board is starting to look a lot better. And I'm going to take this bottom action. I'm going to spend 1 resource. Let's make it an energy. I go from 10 to 9, and I can remove a Harbinger or a Crisis card. And I'm not too worried about getting this Crisis later, so let's get rid of a Harbinger. And we might as well do it in this sector here where I just added a Voidborn fleet power. So this one's gone. And I'll take the top action now last. So I spend 4 resources, and I'll do energy. So I go from 9 to 5, and I can build 1 level of a safe haven or score my glory. And I'm tempted to score my glory. That would get me 10 influence. But I think I'll do this safe haven. We'll do this one here. So that is the end of this turn. So let's slot this agenda here. The trade token that I spent goes back to the Galactic board. And I'm going to go ahead and add this crisis card to the crisis board, get rid of the alert card. So heroic leadership can go back to the heroic deck. And that is it for this cycle. That should be 5 turns, right? So we had reinforcement, heroic innovation, heroic production, prosperity, and heroic leadership. That's it, 5 turns. So let's do the cycle 2 evaluation phase, starting with the crisis board. And we skirmish first. I've got no corruption here on my house mat, no modifiers here on the board. So just the +1 modifier up there. So it doesn't matter where the Voidborn go. They're going to be eliminated on the way in. Even with this modifier here that gives them 1 salvo absorption, they're going to just come in with their 1 fleet power and be destroyed by my 3 approach damage. So I win the skirmish. Now I've got to pay the economic track. That's going to be 1 material and 1 energy. I have no material, so I can pay a credit and then 1 energy. I'm down to 4 energy. And now I need to pay for my upkeep, and I have 2, 4, 6 from these agendas. There's a few upkeep out here, but I can ignore it because I have improved energy cells. So during evaluation phase, your upkeep from sectors are satisfied for free. So that would be 1 for this guild, 1 for that guild, and 1 for that set of installations up there. So that saved me 3 upkeep. That's good. So I've got to pay 6. I've got 5 food. So that goes to 0, and then 2 energy. So that goes down to 2 energy. So I've got no food, 2 energy, no materials, 1 credit, no science. So still pretty tight on resources, but I didn't manage to lose any influence, so that's good. I don't have any pure sectors with 6 population and 3 guilds, 3 or more guilds, so I don't get to build a level of safe haven. So let's take a look at the Galactic Event goals. For my active fleet power, I could gain 6 influence in total, or because I have 8 or more glory, I could remove a corruption or gain an agenda. And the agenda is very tempting, but I think I'm going to remove this corruption because I don't have a great way to deal with corruption in general. So let's get rid of 1, and that should help my scoring prospects. So now we score all of our pure agendas, which is all 4 of them. So let's start on the left. For each pure sector, I have 3 influence. 1, 2, 3 pure sectors. That's 9 influence. I go from 54 to 63. For each pure sector with at least 1 sector defense, I gain 1 influence. So that's 2 sectors, 2 influence. I'm up to 65. For each pure sector with at least 1 shipyard, I get 2 influence, and there are 2 of those sectors, so that's 4. Go from 65 to 69. The next one, if I have at least 8 food production yield, I gain 7 influence, but my yield is 5, so I don't have that. And then for each pure shipyard or starbase that I have, 2 influence, so not each sector with 1, but each one individually, and I've got 2 of those, so that's another 4 influence. So I go to 73. Next, I would get 4 influence if I had at least 4 pure sectors. I only have 3 pure sectors, so I don't have that. But then I gain 2 influence for each basic tech. 1, 2, 3 of those, so 6 influence. So that gets me from 73 to 79. And then 3 influence for each improved tech, and I have 2 of those. I have torpedoes and energy cells. So that's another 6 influence. That gets me from 79 to 85. And if I have 1 or fewer corruption in total, and I do, I only have this 1 corruption, that gains me 6 influence, so from 85 to 91. And then 5 influence for each pair of pure farmers guilds. And I've got 2 farmers guilds, they're both pure, so that's 5 influence. That gets me to 96. That is not a fantastic score at the end of cycle 2. Just looking around real quick, there are 2 open rifts, there are 2 incomplete safe havens, no catastrophes yet, which is good, but there's 3 harbingers on the map, no consumed techs, only 1 crisis card at the moment, and I'll probably get rid of it, no fallen houses. There's a decent amount of corruption and high population in Voidborn sectors. So I think the Voidborn currently are somewhere in the 270s in points, and I'm at 96. So I'm really going to have to push to deny the Voidborn influence and try and boost my own at the same time during this 3rd cycle. So there's some work to do. So before I get there, we're going to do the preparation phase again. Quick recap, I'm going to add 3 heroic focus cards. I'm going to refresh my alert and crisis decks. I'm going to have to add a harbinger to one of these tracks, so I'll have to think about which one I'm going to put that on. I'll refresh the improved technologies that are on offer. I'll get a cycle 3 event card, and I'll also remove 1 trade token from the game, and then I'll get my focus cards ready. So I think that's everything I need to do. I will see you after all that's done. Stick around. All right, and after some planning and thinking, I am back. So I added my Harbinger here to the military track. I feel like resources have been tough this game, but I'm doing a pretty good job defending skirmishes. So I think I'm comfortable, or at least more comfortable with that. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I really want to get improved hyperdrive, which means I'm going to have to unlock another improved tech, and I think that'll let me hop around. I've got to try and close 1 or even 2 rifts to have any chance of winning this game. So I'm going to push for that. And the 3 heroic cards this time are Heroic Prosperity, Heroic Politics, and Heroic Development. I think I might try and use all 3 of them. Kind of depends on how things go, but I find with the basic houses, they don't have any unique focus cards, so I'm relying on the heroic focus cards more. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I'm just noticing that I'm playing more heroic focus cards this time. So let's reveal this Galactic Event and see how, trying to figure out how I'm going to overcome this. What do we got? Shadow of the Void. Okay, so I've got 6 turns this cycle, which means this Galactic Event will probably hurt a little extra. And indeed, the first step is corrupt every agenda offer. See, that doesn't feel very good. That's 8 points for the Voidborn at the end of the game if I don't get them off of there, because every corruption is 2 points. Okay, and the next step is add a Voidborn fleet power to each Voidborn sector with a population of 4 or more. So it's going to be one here, and one over here. This one has 4 population, but it's already at the maximum number of fleet tokens. And then this one has a high enough population, and this special sector can have an extra fleet token. So super duper. And now each player can either remove a corruption or add a corruption to an agenda slot to advance any civilization track. And I do need to advance my tracks. Let's add a corruption here to then advance my statecraft track and get the bonus of removing a corruption. How about that? So it's really just a free track advancement, which is good because if I can advance it again, I can get an improved tech, and I would like that hyperdrive so I can start making some moves on these rifts. So at the end of this cycle, well, this one always trips me up. I gain influence equal to the highest production yield out of the 5 resource types, and gain influence equal to my lowest production yield out of food, energy, and materials. So that one's a little wacky, but I don't know, with a little luck, chances are I'd be getting like 20 influence out of that. And the other goal for this galactic cycle is to have 20 or gain 20 influence if I have no corruption on my house mat and have 5 or more basic or improved techs. So as long as I keep corruption off my house mat, I've already accomplished this one, which is 20 influence. But this one, I might be able to get it a little bit higher than 20, but I don't know how much I'm going to concentrate on guilds necessarily this time. So the improved techs that are remaining are orbital docks, carriers, central surveillance, and hyperdrive. I kind of talked about hyperdrive already. Okay, I think I'm ready to get going. Let's reveal this first alert card and see what kind of wrench this throws at me. And we have a war card right off the bat, all right? So at the end of this round, we're going to resolve the crisis board, and the Voidborn have +1 approach absorption for the skirmish portion, and if I successfully defend, I add a sector defense to an adjacent Voidborn sector. So luckily, I think I'm still in a good spot to handle this. So I want to start off by playing my prosperity card to take the heroic prosperity card. There we go, like that. And I will also use my 1 trade token. Let's flip that over and take all 3 actions. And I'll start with this bottom one. There is no cost. I can either build an installation or gain an agenda card, and I'm going to go with an agenda. And I think I'll go with a dominance agenda, and let me look at the next 2 in the stack. I don't want that top one either. So we have high society and mercantile governance. So I think mercantile governance has a better chance of scoring. It'll give me 5 influence if I can advance my statecraft track 1 more time and it remains pure, and then 1 influence for every 2 basic resources I have at the end. So that's food, materials, and energy. There's a decent chance I could have some of that. I don't know why I say that. I'm like out of resources every round, but that's the one I'm going to keep. And I have to take this corruption as well, and I'm going to throw it back on this sector because I sure don't want it on my house mat. All right, so that agenda's in my hand. That was my first action. And I'll take this top action next. So spend any 2 resources, and I'm going to spend 2 energy. So now I have no resources except for 1 credit. And I get to advance my economic track, which then gains me a trade token. So let's take one of those. So that goes here for now. And for my trade token bonus, I'm going to take 2 science. 1, 2, so I'm up to 2 science. And then the other part of this action is I gain 4 resources in any combination of any type. I think I'm going to take 4 credits, so I go from 1 to 5. And now I'll take this action. I have to remove 1 guild. So I'm going to take this Engineers Guild out of here. It had to be from a non-home sector. So I lose 2 levels on my energy production down to level 9, yield of 6. But now I can gain a trade token and remove a Harbinger. So let's start by removing this Harbinger. Let's get that out of there. And gain another trade token. And I can pick any of the rewards I want. And I think I'll go for 2 credits. So I go up to 7 will be that trade token bonus. So that's all 3 of the actions. Let's return this trade token to the galactic board. And I can slot 2 of these. A lot of trade token motion. That's That's a good thing. Now I've got to resolve this war card. So first we're going to skirmish at 1, and the Void Board are going to have 1 extra approach absorption, but wherever they skirmish at 1, there's 3 with my energy cells, 3 approach damage. So they block 1 but get hit by the other 2. So I'm going to win the combat, and then I need to, according to this war card, add a sector defense to an adjacent Voidborn sector. So I'd like to put it here, adjacent to this one, but I think that it needs to be adjacent to the combat sector, and I think the Voidborn would have preferred to attack this sector with the higher pure population than the corrupted population. So adjacent to that sector, we'll have to go here. And now we've got to resolve the economic part of the crisis board. I guess I didn't really think about that, so there goes my 2 credits. 1, 2, because I don't have any energy or materials. That's too bad, but that's a war card, survived. So let's put this heroic prosperity card at the bottom of the heroic deck, and now I can play my next focus card. But I guess I should reveal the crisis first, huh? So let's check the alert card. Oh, back-to-back war cards. That's painful. So this time we resolve the crisis board. The Voidborn have +2 salvo absorption, so hopefully I can take them out on the approach step, which is a pretty good possibility. And then we have to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So super. It's mostly the economic track that I'm worried about, though. So let's play my next focus card, and we'd better make it the development focus. And let's take this heroic development, because after resolving this card, if this sector still looks the way it does with these 3 guilds and it's pure, then I resolve this this crisis and I won't need to pay the economic penalty during the war section. So I'm going to go ahead and use a trade token here and take all 3 of these actions too. And I'll start with this bottom action. It costs 1 science, so I go from 2 to 1. And then I can remove a corruption from a sector and build an installation in that same sector. And I'm going to do this sector here. So I'm going to remove that corruption. So there's 2 pure population now. And I'll add an installation there, and it's going to be a shipyard because there's really no risk of attack. I don't need the sector defense, and the shipyard score better for me. So I think that makes sense. And let's take the middle action now. It's going to cost 3 resources of any type. I'll spend 3 credits. So I go from 5 to 2. And I can build a guild and gain 4 resources of any type. Now let's start with the guild. Let's go ahead and put the Engineers Guild right back there. So my production level goes back from 9 to 11, yield of 10. And then I gain 4 resources. I'm going to gain 4 credits, go from 2 to 6. Now I'll take this last action, which costs 2 materials, and I don't have any of these resources, so I'm spending 2 credits, go down to 4. And now I can build a guild and increase a population in the same sector. So I'm going to put a farmer's guild here and increase this population from 2 to 3. So my food production level goes up 3, 10, 11. So my yield there is now 10. And then I also raise my production level by 1 for energy and for materials. And that was all 3 actions. So I can return this trade token to the Galactic board. And I can return the heroic development card to the heroic deck. And I've just resolved a development focus, and I have a pure sector with 3 or more guilds that are not the same, that are farmer, engineer, and miner. I've actually got 2 of those sectors. So this is now complete. That was a level 3 crisis, so I'm glad that that's gone. And now we can resolve this war card. So again, I've got a skirmish at 1. So I think the Voidborn would prefer to skirmish here. The result is the same in either of these sectors. So I win the skirmish. Even though they do have 2 salvo absorption, they won't survive to the salvo step because they won't get past the approach. So now I add 1 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. It's got to go here. It's the only option. And now I resolve the economic track, but there's nothing to resolve, so that's nice. So that's the end of this war card. And I think that was all the war cards in the stack. I think I've had 3 war cards already, so I shouldn't have to do that again until the evaluation phase. So let's grab the next crisis card, or the next alert card, I should say. And it's a level 2 alert, and I have an economic crisis, Heart of a New Dominaeum. Increase a pure population to 6. And the immediate penalty you can take is to recall 1 fleet power. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I might. There's a chance that I'll get one of these 2 4s up to a 6 by the end. So let's just, I guess, see how it plays out. So for my next focus card, I'm going to play Production. and I'm only going to take 2 actions on this one. I'm going to take the top 2 actions. So let's start with the top one. I could advance my society track. So that goes up 1. And now I can increase the pure population. How about that? I think let's go for the home sector here. So let's go from 4 to 5. And that increases the production level for food by 1 and for energy by 1. So energy is now maxed out. And then science by 1, which didn't change my yield, sadly. I wish it did. And now I'm going to take the second action and produce the 3 basic resource types and then gain 1 influence for each pure guild of those 3 types. So let's produce first. So I gain 12 food, so 0 to 12, and 15 energy, so from 0 to 15, and 4 materials, so from 0 to 4. I was kind of hoping I might overproduce or even double overproduce when I got to that action, but need to have something to start with before you can do that. But now let's count up those guild types that are pure. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 influence. So I go from 96 to 104. Boy, I'd forgotten how low this number is. I got a ways to go. 104. Glad to hit triple digits now. So that's all the actions for this focus card. So now I just need to deal with this. And I think I am going to make it ongoing. I bet I can get this sector advanced one more time. So we'll take this alert card out of here. And now we draw a new alert card. And it's a level 3 crisis. And we have a general crisis. It's called Tainted Knowledge. After you gain an improved technology, choose to also discard a glory token with value of 3 or higher. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is to skirmish with, 2 approach absorption for the Voidborn. Gee, man. Boy, I don't like the idea of any of this, but I could probably do either if I tried real hard. All right, so after some thinking, I'm going to play politics, and I'm going to take this heroic politics. And I'm going to use a trade token. Okay, wish me luck. Let's start with this top action. I'm going to spend 1 science, so I'm down to 0, and 2 credits. So I'm down to 2 credits, and I could advance the statecraft track and gain a trade token. So let's start with the trade token. All right, gained a trade token, and I think my trade token bonus is I'm going to take 2 science. So I go from 0 to 2. And now I can advance the statecraft track, so I do that. And now I can gain a new tech, and I've just unlocked another improved tech. So I think now is the time for improved hyperdrive. So I get 6 influence for that. I go from 104 to 110. And I can build an engineer's guild. That's probably the guild type I need the least because it's already maxed out, but let's just put one there. So this goes here. So now I can still produce energy when I play Conquest Focus, and when I invade, I can regroup first. But now, when I invade, I can ignore void storms or move in from up to 2 sectors away. So that is going to be pretty crucial for me. So that is a good pickup. So I'm going to take this middle action next. That's going to cost 1 science. So I go down to 1 and 2 energy. So I go from 15 to 13. And I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector, and I can invade. I'm going to invade first. And so Hyperdrive says when I invade, I can first regroup. So that's what I'll do. I'm going to take both of these carriers and move them here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I can invade, and I can invade from up to 2 sectors away. So I think I'm going to take this sector from here, 1, 2. So I'm going to invade with this carrier. This is going to be huge. Here, and this carrier. And I think this carrier too. I'm going to send 3 carriers, and each of them may deploy a corvette from my active fleet power if I have enough. So let's just add fleet token here. I've got 2, so let's deploy 2. And you know what? I'll even move in 1 more corvette from here. I'll just leave 1 behind. All right. So I'm attacking with 3 carriers and 3 corvettes now. There is a sector defense, so I lose 1 corvette on the approach. And now let's add up the initiative. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Voidborn have 4, so I fire first. I have torpedoes and I have corvettes here, so I fire twice. I do 2 damage. 1, 2. Now the Voidborn fire back. I've got to lose 1 fleet power. Might as well make it one of these corvettes. Okay. Now it's the next salvo round. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that token's just empty. Let's take it away. I've got 4 initiative. The Voidborn have 2, so I fire first. I still have a corvette, and I have improved torpedoes, so I do an extra damage, salvo damage each round. So I do 2 damage again. That takes out the last fleet power. And so I win the combat. Oh, and let me do this before I score, because well, no. I was just thinking, I got the improved hyperdrive, so I could discard a glory token of value 3 or higher, and then that would clear this crisis. But I think I'm going to take the penalty, so never mind. I'm not going to discard a glory token. So combat's over. This installation goes away. And now I gain this number 5 glory token. That is very nice. And I can score my glory now, and I have 15 glory to score. So I go from 110 to 125. I have 5 glory tokens right now. You don't have to go down until the end of the round. Same thing, I have 4 fleet tokens in that sector. That's fine until the cleanup part of my focus phase. So that's a lot of glory. That's nice. And there's also a fixed population of 6 here with 2 pre-printed bankers guilds. So I can add, I can go up 12 levels on this, and all of a sudden my production yield for credits is 6. So that felt pretty good to do. And now I will take the second part of this action. I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector, and let's get it out of this rift. Let's make that 1 fleet power easier to take care of. All right, so we're making big moves now. And I have not yet taken this bottom action either, so I can do that. So I've got to remove an installation from a non-home sector, and it's going to be this one, even though I'd like to get rid of one of those sector defenses. They're almost redundant, but I think I'm going to need them at the moment with this skirmish coming up. So I'll get rid of the shipyard. That's fine. It'll be a net gain overall, because now I can remove a corruption from a sector. So let's take it out of here. Let's make that a pure sector with 6 population. And I can remove a Harbinger. So I think let's do this one here. I'm not going to this Genesis sector, I don't think. So overall, that was a pretty great turn. And you know, it hadn't even occurred to me. I just realized if I can put 1 guild in this sector, that'll finish off this safe haven for me. That'd be nice. But that's it for this focus round. So let's return the trade token to the Galactic board. And return this heroic card to the bottom of the deck. And now to resolve this crisis card. So we've got a skirmish. Oh, but before I do that, now is the time to get rid of a glory token and to reduce this down. I've got to, if the card was complete, I could take care of it now. But since I'm taking a penalty, that is step 4 here. So let's reduce this down. We'll get rid of, well, I might want to leave a corvette actually, just to have the torpedoes there. So yeah, I guess I'm going to remove these 2 fleet power, these 2 carriers. That kind of stinks, but there they go. And I'll be getting rid of this number 1 glory token. I think that makes sense. All right, so now this crisis card, let's resolve the skirmish. So this Voidborn are going to skirmish at 1 fleet power, and they have 2 approach absorption. So if they skirmish here, I'm doing 3 approach damage, so I take out that fleet power. Same thing here. So let's look at this sector. They come in. There is no approach damage, so they make it in with their 1 fleet power. I've got 2 initiative, and they have 1, so I take them out. So, okay, that one is covered. I can get rid of this alert card. Now let's take a look. How many focus cards has that been? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 2 more to go. All right. So let's draw the next alert card. It is a 2, and the crisis is an economic crisis, disharmony, and leadership. When you play an agenda card from your hand, choose to forfeit taking its action. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is a skirmish. I'm getting a lot of skirmishes, and I seem equipped to handle them, so I'll probably continue to go that route. I don't want to waste an agenda card if I don't have to. So I think I'm going to play Reinforcement this time, surprising myself a little bit. And I'm going to take the top 2 actions. Starting with the top action, I will deactivate 1 fleet power, and now I can advance 1 track and build a sector defense somewhere. So let's go ahead and put a sector defense here. That seems like a good idea. And I'm going to advance this track, my politics track, so that goes up 1. I have to deactivate a fleet power to go into tier 3. And now I can exchange 1 glory token for +1 value. So I'll exchange this 3 for a 4. There we go. And yeah, now I can score my glory. So 9, 6, I've got 15 glory to score. So I go from 125 to 130, 140. All right, starting to creep up. That's good. And now I'm going to take the muster action here in the middle. So I spend 2 material, 1, 2, and I can deploy 1 fleet power to each shipyard. And I will spend 2 food, so I go from 12 down to 10. I'm going to deploy 2 carriers. So 1 to this shipyard and 1 to this shipyard. So I only have 2 fleet power available to deploy. Otherwise, I could make use of that existing carrier and deploy something there as well. But those were my 2 actions. So now let's take this immediate penalty of a skirmish at 1, and there's nowhere that they can skirmish me at 1 and win, so that's resolved. Let's get rid of this alert card. So I believe I've only got 1 focus remaining. Yes, 1 more to go. Let's make it count. The alert card is another 2, and we have a military crisis, Purging Storm. Invade from 2 or more different pure sectors. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is to deactivate 2 fleet power. I think with a slight change, I can make that happen right away. All right, so we will make this last turn count. I'm playing Innovation. I'm pairing it with this agenda card. Oh, and I forgot to slot this at some point. I've had plenty of room for it, so no worries. Okay, so I've got agenda card, innovation. I'm going to take the top 2 actions, starting with the topmost action. So I need to spend 2 food. I go from 10 to 8. And I produce science and credits. So for science, I produce 3. I go from 1 to 4. For credits, I produce 6. I go from 2 to 8. Thank you, Megalopolis sector. And then I gain 1 influence for each of those guild types that's pure. So 1, 2, 3. 3 influence there. It's not nothing. 143. And now I'll take this middle action. So I'm going to spend 2 science. I go from 4 down to 2, and I can gain another tech. I can't gain an improved tech. I haven't unlocked enough, so I can gain a basic tech, and I am going to take tactical transports for exactly 1 reason. The immediate effect is it can raise 1 pure population. So let's go from 5 to 6 right here. I can, let's see, energy's already maxed out. Food goes up 1 level, so that's maxed out now. Science goes up 1 level, so it would produce 4. I would have liked to do that before I produced the science, but I only had 1 science, so I had to gain science before I could gain the tech. All right, so there's tactical transports. I won't do anything else with that. But now I've got this nice population 6 sector, so I just increased a pure population to 6, so I accomplished this level 2 crisis. That was really the point. But I've also got this nice sector here now with 3 guilds. It's pure. There's 6 populations, so I'll finish off that safe haven in the evaluation phase 2. But I have 1 more action to take because I played this agenda, so I can invade. And I was thinking I might be going after this rift down here initially. That's why I took 1 Voidborn fleet power out of there. But now I'm thinking I'm going to go to the other rift up top because I can invade from 2 different pure sectors and accomplish this crisis card. So using my improved hyperdrive, we're going to invade, and that means I can regroup first. So that was 2. And I think that's all the regrouping I want to do. So I need to invade from 2 pure sectors, and I can go up to range 2 away when I invade with this tech. So let's bring in this carrier, and this carrier, and I suppose this carrier too. Oh no, but I don't have active fleet power. Okay, so let's bring one of these back and do one of these. How's that going to turn out? Let me think here. Oh no, this is catastrophic. I got to back up. Okay, uninvade. Uninvade. You were here. You were there. All right, what was the last thing I did? I bought a tech. Yeah, it was tactical transports. I increased this. That's got to go back. No tactical transports, which means my crisis card comes back. Oh my goodness, this is a disaster. Okay, I got to lower my production yields on these to get everything back where it was. All right, so food should be at 12. We're good. That's still maxed. Science should be at 5. It's at 5. Okay, this is back to where it was. Man, what a day of mistakes this has been. Okay, orbital docks is what we will take instead. And that allows me to build a sector defense, build a shipyard, and then activate 1 fleet power. So let's go ahead and throw that shipyard back here where we had one before and activate 1 fleet power. Yes, this is the way. Okay, now we will invade. And so we will invade from 2 pure sectors. One here, and one here. And I can regroup first. 1, 2, and let's bring that one along. And now, crucially, I can deploy one of these. One Corvette during the approach. And now I take one approach damage myself due to the sector defense. So let's get rid of a carrier. There we go. All right, so now the initiative is 3 to 3. We fire at the same time. I have a Corvette, so I do 2 damage. I take 1 damage. So let's get rid of another carrier. And now we go to the next salvo round. I have 2 initiative. They have 1, so I fire first. And win the combat this time. So good for me, I guess. And so I've closed a rift. That's a good thing. I can either remove a corruption or gain 5 resources of any type. So I will remove a corruption from my 1 corrupted sector here. Let's get rid of that. And let's flip over this rift tile. And add 1 pure population. Okay, closed a rift. That took a little doing, but got it done. So now let's figure out, I got to do some math. I achieved this. This crisis goes away at least. This one sadly is going to remain. So this one's going to end up costing me 5 points. But let me think for a minute. I've got this agenda, and I don't have a dominance agenda type slotted. So I got to do the math on how many points is this going to get me? How many points are all these going to get me? And what do I want to keep? Okay, and I will slot it. I'm going to replace the support agenda. I think this dominance one is going to get me 1 more influence than this one would have. So I believe that is it. Let's take a look. Should have been 6 focus cards this cycle. I had prosperity, development, production, politics, reinforcement, and innovation. That is 6. So we go into the evaluation phase of cycle 3, starting with resolving the crisis board. So we're going to do a skirmish at 1 plus 1 because it's cycle 3. So at 2 fleet power. 2 fleet power aren't going to make it through these sector defenses or these. They won't make it through this one because this is doing 2 damage thanks to energy cells. So 2 fleet power will get into this sector that I have up here. The initiative will be tied, so we'll fire simultaneously. With torpedoes, I will take out both fleet power, and then I need to lose 1 fleet power myself. And I don't think it makes a difference. Let's take the Corvette. And now I need to pay on the economic track 1 material and 1 energy. So I'm down to 1 material, down to 12 energy. Oh, you know what? I can get another point out of this. Let's give me those back. Let's spend 2 credits instead. Go down to 6 credits. Squeeze another point out of this bottom agenda that I just got. All right, so that was the crisis board. Let's do upkeep. And thanks to improved energy cells, I don't have to worry about anything out here. I just have 2, 4, 6 for these 3 agendas without a trade token. So we'll spend 6 food. I go from 8 down to 2. Upkeep is covered. Now we do our safe haven check, and I do have... Oh, no, I don't. I don't have a sector. This is at 5. This one's at 6, but I only have 2 guilds there. Oh no, I didn't manage to complete a single safe haven. Bummer. Okay, that's going to hurt. Man, I might have been better off sticking with tactical transports. That's so disappointing, because if I'd bumped that up to 6, this would have been gone, this would have been complete, and I could have gotten rid of a Harbinger. I think I would have netted more points overall than closing the rift. Man, it's a tangled web, though. I'm not going back. There's too many variables to consider, but, because I closed the rift and then I got to remove a corruption. I'm not going to figure it all out, but I hope that didn't cost me the game. That's going to be a bummer. So we look at the Galactic Event, and I definitely achieved the bottom part. I have no corruption on my house mat, and I have at least 5 techs, so that would be 20 influence. The top option, let's see, is influence equal to my highest production yield, which would be 15 for energy, and then my lowest yield of the 3 resources. So that would be materials, my yield is 4, so that would be 19. So I get 1 more influence by taking the bottom goal for this galactic cycle. So 20 influence, I go from 143 to 163. boy, I don't think this is going to happen. So we score my pure agendas, and that is all of them. So let's start with this one. 3 influence for each pure sector. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's a lot. 18. So we go from 163 to 181. 1 influence for each pure sector. With a sector defense, I've got 1, 2, 3. So 3 influence of 184. 2 influence for each pure sector with a shipyard. 1, 2, 3 of those. So that's 6 influence. That gets me to 190. All right. And then industrial nourishments. If my food production yield is 8 or higher, I get 7 influence. My yield is 12. So I get 7 influence. I go to 197. Now 2 influence for each pure shipyard. Got 1, 2, 3 of those. So that's another 6 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 203. I get 4 influence if I have at least 4 pure sectors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 4 influence. 207. Then 2 influence for each basic tech. 1, 2, 3 of those. So that's 6 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gets me up to 213. 3 influence for each improved tech. 1, 2, 3. So that's another 9. So that gets me to 222. And then if my statecraft track is at least in tier 2, I get 5 influence. So I'm up to 227. And finally, I look at my leftover resources for food, materials, and energy. For every 2 resources left, I get 1 influence. So I've got 2 food, 13 energy, which gets me to 15, and then 2 more materials. So that's 17 over 2. You round down. That's going to be 8 more influence. So I'm going to go up to 235. I don't think that's going to do it, but let's find out. The Voidborn are starting at 100. They've got 2 rifts still open. No, I'm sorry, 1 rift open. That was a whole dilemma. I closed a rift. All right, so that's going to get them up to 130. But 2 safe havens. I wasn't banking on that. So that's 20 each. 50, 60, 70, 170. All right, no catastrophes. 1 harbinger left. That's 10. So they're at 180. No consumed techs. There is 1 ongoing crisis. That's 5. 185. And no fallen house on the map. 2 points, 2 influence for every corruption in the game. So we've got 3 of them up here on the agendas. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be 18. So 15 would be 200. So that's going to be 203. Oh, this is going to be close. So 1 influence for each population in a Voidborn sector. Not necessarily corrupted sector, but a Voidborn one. So we've got these 3 here that are each 4. So that's going to be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we go from 203 to 223. Whew, all right, that was super close. 235 to 223. So by a very narrow margin, I managed to get a victory out of this one. So, oh man, edge of my seat all the way through. But that was a pretty good time. Glad I did it. It's been a while, like I said, since I played one of the basic houses, and yeah, they're a good time. So glad that I picked it. I was going back and forth between Cortozaar and Belatan because I'd already done 2 playthroughs on this channel. They're both tutorials, solo tutorials, one with Dunlork and then one with Valnus. The Valnus one was kind of interesting because I did not allow myself to invade for the entire game for the tutorial, so that was kind of fun. But this was Today Is Not the Day, the 7th out of 8 scenarios in the solo compendium that come with the original Voidfall game. I know there's an expansion coming at some point, so I'm sure there's going to be more scenarios, but I would like to get this last one played before the end of this calendar year, 2024. So if this is something you enjoy, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss it. And if you want more content like this, leave a like and leave a comment so that I know to make more of it, because I'm just trying to make content that people want to see. I'm going to play games regardless. If you want me to videotape it and edit it, then you got to let me know what you want. But I had a great time. I hope you did too. If I made any mistakes, let me know in the comments. A lot of times I catch it when I'm editing, but not always. So be sure to check down there. But this was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. As always, thank you so much for watching Table for One. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.